So more and more health professionals are starting to understand the benefits that can come from helping their clients improve a low stomach acid issue. So if you're working as a health, fitness, or a wellness professional, a lot of clients deal with specific symptoms that can come from a lack of stomach acid, but there's also a lot of health issues that can come from an inability to acidify our food correctly so that we can break it down and get all the nutrients out of that food. So it's becoming more and more popular for clients to be supplementing with Betaine HCL capsules, which are basically like a synthetic form of this hydrochloric acid that's supposed to be made in the stomach. But I got a question over on our much bigger consumer Kick It Naturally channel from someone that made me realize I haven't really talked about the timing of how long this takes to really see improvements for your clients. So in this video, I want to help you understand ways and reasons that timing can really vary from client to client. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So it was user at daughter something or other who asked, how long does it take to feel the effects from using HCL? And they're talking about using these Betaine HCL capsules. And the first thing that we want to understand is that when we're looking to correct a low stomach acid issue, we're looking to correct a malfunction. So this is not like an imbalance like we talk about in a lot of our books and courses, how it's very common for clients to be dealing with different imbalances in the body that have the ability to create a wide variety of health issues. You know, imbalances like electrolyte imbalances or imbalances with their circadian rhythm or imbalances with the autonomic nervous system. So if you don't know about those imbalances, we'll put a link in the description below for my book Health Pro Results, and that'll kind of help you understand the different imbalances that can show up for your clients. And the book is available on Amazon, but with that link in the description below, you can get the whole thing totally for free and better understand those kind of situations. Because a significant imbalance can take some clients months to really see improvements there. But with low stomach acid, we're just trying to correct a malfunction. The body is not having the ability to generate that hydrochloric acid in the stomach for one reason or another. So by taking the Betaine HCL capsules, we're looking to basically synthesize the correct digestive process. So for some people, let's say that they just didn't have the ability to make enough stomach acid. Well, if that client were to take enough HCL capsules with that meal, they could feel an improvement immediately with that very first dose that they take. Now, what I just outlined there is a very rare circumstance that somebody's just going to take a supplement and fix everything that's been going wrong in their body for the past 20 years. It just doesn't usually work like that, and you're going to understand why when we go over some of these other things. But if a client was just on the fence, they just needed a little bit of a boost, maybe they were making some HCL but not enough to really remove all these symptoms, they could take some HCL with that meal and have those symptoms removed and immediately feel better. So the timing can be right away, but the first thing we want to think about is a client even using the HCL capsules correctly? We like to see people use it in the middle of the meal, and a lot of people will pick up a supplement bottle and they'll just read the instructions and be like, take one per day, and they think that that's really going to do anything. But a lot of times the manufacturers put the lowest dose possible on the bottle just for their own liability reasons. And I'm not telling you to always tell clients to always take more than what the bottle says, but we need to understand the reality of the situation and understand that sometimes the manufacturer is not really going to say what's going to be the most effective way to see immediate results. So we also need to understand, is the client taking a dose that is appropriate for them? So I'm going to put a link in the description below for this study on mealtime supplementation with Betaine HCL for functional hypochlorhydria. And you can dig into that study a little bit more if you want to review this more. But in this study, they basically created hypochlorhydria. And hypochlorhydria is just a situation where a person is not making enough stomach acid. So they created this with the people in this study by using a PPI, or a proton pump inhibitor, which is a medication that people use to turn off stomach acid to relieve acid reflux symptoms. So they turned off stomach acid for all these people, and then they started seeing all of these symptoms that come up from low stomach acid, like burping and bloating and constipation and even acid reflux. Yes, acid reflux is caused by a lack of stomach acid. It's not really caused by too much stomach acid like advertisers want us to believe. So they saw these symptoms coming up, and then they would supplement with the Betaine HCL capsules to see, does it improve these symptoms that come up from low stomach acid or hypochlorhydria? And they saw that it worked very well. But they were trying to figure out what's the right dose to figure out for each person. They were using doses like 1,500 and 3,000 milligrams and even 4,500 milligrams. And we find that that's usually probably more than we like to use with our clients. It appears that the body makes the equivalent of about 5 HCl capsules or about 2,500 milligrams of HCl for a full meal when the body is working correctly. So that works out to about 5 HCl capsules. So we view that as the most that we like to see clients take. But if a client is already making the equivalent to 3 or 4 HCl capsules, then they might just need 1 capsule. They might just need a little bit of a boost. So in this study, they had people start off with just 1 capsule, and then they would work their way up each meal to figure out which dose was appropriate for them. And in the study, they were like, yeah, just keep increasing it until you start to feel a discomfort of maybe too much acid. But we find that that doesn't really work. We just find it works better if you use a maximum of 5 capsules. Because of some things that we'll talk about in a second, some clients will feel discomfort the first capsule that they take. I'm like, oh, I felt discomfort, so I don't need any. So we'll talk through that in just a second here. But another factor we want to think about is a client using HCl with pepsin? Pepsin is something that helps us break down protein even more, and so most manufacturers put pepsin into the HCl capsules. The problem is if a client has to work up to those 5 capsules, that amount of pepsin is going to create a lot of discomfort. So we prefer to use an HCl without pepsin. Most people are making enough pepsin in the body. It just needs to be activated by the stomach being acidified. So if they just use enough HCl, they're going to activate the pepsin that's already in there. So it's good to find an HCl that does not include pepsin. I'll put a link in the description below to the one that we use that does not include pepsin, just so you can see that. I'm not telling you to use that or that that's going to fix everything that's going wrong with your clients for years. I just know you're going to ask, so I'll put that there so you can see it. So we like to make sure that they're not using pepsin, but then we also need to understand just the body's ability to make stomach acid. Does it have the resources it needs to make it? Maybe is the client too stressed out, where they're too stressed to move into the state of that parasympathetic state where they can make HCl? So that's why we start off with just 1 and work our way up, because we need to see how much does the body really need, and that's really going to vary from client to client. But this is the biggest factor that we need to look at with clients, is some type of bacterial or some type of varmint overgrowth either in the stomach or the small intestine. So a client can be dealing with some kind of like H. pylori infection in the stomach, or some type of SIBO issue here, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And in a lot of cases, if there's an overgrowth, they'll be putting out like alkaline waste products. And that alkaline waste product can further alkalize the stomach. Maybe the client is making a little bit of acid, but it's being neutralized by the alkaline waste from some type of bacterial overgrowth. So this is going to be the most common factor that really dictates how long does it take for a client to really see improvement when they start supplementing with HCl. They could be taking 5 HCl capsules, but it could be neutralizing enough of that so that it's only as effective as 1 or even none. So the amount of overgrowth there is going to be a big factor. So if a client has some type of overgrowth either in the stomach or the small intestine, that's going to have to be addressed. You really have to take steps to wipe out that overgrowth, because just acidifying the stomach in most cases is not going to be enough to wipe out those bad guys. And the thing that's interesting is that usually there is an overgrowth either in the stomach or the small intestine because there wasn't enough stomach acid. That stomach acid is not just there to help us acidify the food and break it down so we can get the nutrients out of that food. It's also the barrier to the whole digestive tract. So when varmints come in on the food that we're eating, they should die in an acid bath. So if a client's not making enough HCl, Now they come in like, oh, this is great. Let's set up camp here. Let's have a keg party. And they raise their kids and they have this major overgrowth here. So this is going to be the biggest factor that we need to look at when we're thinking about how long is this improvement going to take. Another thing we want to think about is the, whatever type of food that the client is eating. The more protein that they're eating usually dictates a greater need for hydrochloric acid. So if they're just having just a salad with no protein, they might not need HCl for that meal. Where if they were having a steak, that would require more HCl than even an easier to break down protein like eggs. So the type of protein might be a factor, and the amount of protein that they're consuming just needs to be something that we think about when we're thinking about how long is this going to take for them to see improvements. And if there is some type of overgrowth there, that's usually going to have the ability to magnify some symptoms when clients first start HCl. Maybe they don't have enough acid in the stomach to trigger that lower esophageal sphincter to close correctly. That's triggered by stomach acid. So if they don't have any acid in there and they put in a little bit, they may have magnified reflux symptoms. So we'll put a link in the description below for our video on helping clients avoid troubles when first starting HCl. I'm not going to dig into all of that right now, but that can help you understand that a little bit. But what we're looking to see improvement for are the most common symptoms that come from a lack of stomach acid are going to be issues like bloating and indigestion and acid reflux and constipation. But what we need to understand is that all of those symptoms have the ability to be caused by other malfunctions in the body. Low stomach acid is not the only possible digestive malfunction. So if you need to understand those things, that book that I showed you how to get for free in the description below, chapters 3 and 4 kind of walk you through helping clients figure out which aspects of digestion are not working correctly and steps they can take to improve those. So that can be important to understand. So then how long is it going to take to create improvement could dictate our other malfunctions creating problem, like a lack of bile flow is very common, some type of overgrowth is very common, someone being too stressed. All of those are factors that are going into how long does it take to really correct that whole digestive process. So you can see it's not going to be a simple answer, but when you understand what you really want to look at, then you can really help clients have an understanding of what to expect as far as how long this is going to take to see improvements. So I hope that gives you some insights. And if you want to better understand other steps that you can help clients take to start making more of their own HCl naturally so they don't have to supplement with the Betaine HCL as long, you can jump over and check out our video on helping clients make more HCl naturally. I can't wait to hear about your results.